Welcome to the Sellernomics podcast. In today's episode, we'll be featuring one of the many great tools and software available to Amazon sellers to help you grow your FBA business. A special thank you to our sponsor, GETIDA, the global leader in FBA auditing and reimbursements. Get $400 in free FBA reimbursements at getida.com/Sellernomics. Now it's time to show us what you got with your hosts, Rob Stanley and Lisa Kinski.
What is up, everybody? Welcome to today's episode of Sellernomics. Show us what you've got. My name is Lisa Kinski, and I'm joined by my co-host, Rob Stanley. And today we have with us a familiar face, a guest we've had on the show before about a year ago.
Absolutely.
But today we are going to be talking about a brand new topic, and we have Noemi Bolojan on with us from Scale Wave, my goodness. And she's going to be walking us through an Amazon seller's guide to PPC. It's a step-by-step for beginners for 2024, because we all know the landscape for everything on Amazon is always changing, right? So why should PPC be any different? So very relevant, very topical. But let's go on ahead and bring her on and say hello. Noemi, how are you?
Hey, how's it going? Such a pleasure to see you guys. How are you doing?
Good to see you too.
We are doing awesome. So good to see you again, dear. So let's go on ahead and just jump straight into the content. We'll talk about Scale Wave later, and people will very clearly see your expertise throughout the presentation. But let's just jump straight to it. Show us what you've got.
Sounds great. So thank you so much for this opportunity. Hi, everyone. My name is Noemi, and today's presentation, it's really about Amazon PPC strategy for beginners for this year. 2024, we are recording right now. It's May the 3rd. And the reason for this topic basically is Amazon is changing. It's really ever changing. And the idea is that even if you're a beginner, you should be knowing not only the beginner stuff, but also understanding whatever is going on the platform. It's ever changing. So you should have the basic. You should know the fundamentals. And in this spirit, and also in the spirit of creating a type of topic that I wish I knew like 4 years ago, whenever I started on Amazon, I came up with this presentation. So if that is fine, let's start it right away. So basically, what is Amazon PPC? Amazon basically is going to place your product in front of shoppers who are already looking to buy. That's what it is. And how does it work? It is an auction-based bidding system where you are going to set a maximum bid, you are willing to pay per click, and then Amazon is going to use these specific bids that you created in a real-time auction to really determine which ads to show and where. And campaign types, when it comes to campaign types, there are 3 main campaign types right now on the platform: the sponsor products, the sponsor brands, and the sponsor display ads. When it comes to targeting, there are 3 targeting types: the keyword targeting, product targeting, and also interest-based targeting. And when it comes to display, these ads can show up both on and off Amazon. Now, how does it compare to Google Ads and Facebook Ads? This is the most common question. And here, just so you understand better, what are we looking at and why would we run Amazon ads is, compared to these 2 ad types, because they are the most known, Facebook, Google, Amazon. Amazon will have the most targeted audience that has the highest intent to buy. Whenever someone is shopping on Amazon, notice me, I just said someone is shopping on Amazon. So whoever is just looking up something on Amazon, they are going to go with the intent of shopping, right? So that is going to be the most important thing for you to know from this presentation. And then why is PPC crucial for you? Basically is, we've seen recently, I would say for the past 1.5 years, a sales shift. Before it was 30% PPC and 70% organic. So 70% was organic sales, 30% PPC. But right now what we're seeing right now, again, in 2024, it is a 70% PPC to 30% organic shift. Which some consequences are that even if you're running outside traffic ads to your Amazon listing to really keep a sustainable organic ranking, you can't survive without Amazon VC. Right? And then the strategy is going to be, how do we play the game to profit and win and not to lose? That would be the whole idea of this presentation. And some of the actions that we can do is really mastering the game. And by mastering the game, I mean learning whatever the 1% of advertisers know. Whatever you're learning right now on like online, it's the 1% that's what they know, but it's like patched here and there, and you would get just here results and there results and so on. Like you're getting information very, very scattered. In today's presentation, I wanted to bring you that information. So
Let's take a quick break, Noemi. I have a question.
Sure.
So if
Please
I'm
do.
looking at this through the eyes of a brand new seller, right? Somebody who's just created their account, and we show that statistic under sales shift, you said about in the last, we'll call it 18, 24 months, we've seen a shift of before it was 30% PPC to 70% organic, and now it's 70% PPC. What do you think caused that shift? What has changed in the landscape to lead to that flip?
Great question. I do believe that, like you guys and also Rob, since you started selling, it was like barely some sellers, and they just barely, even if you had a listing that was unoptimized, you were making sales. However, now in 2024, honestly, if you are out on the platform and your listing it's not ready to be advertised, you're going to suffer. So what happened is like more and more sellers came who understood the game and they are playing by the game. And also Amazon seeing, okay, there's so much competition. Technically what they're doing, they're also self-serving. So what they want is to make more money and more money, which any business would, right? So you cannot say that that is not a fair claim. Yes, you as a business owner, you would do the same play, right? But in the same time, what I'm seeing also, I think it's due also to inflation in some rate, because there's like prices are going up, inflation is going up, and then also you cannot expect to pay the same amount last year that you're like now that you paid like 2 years ago, for example. So these two main things I'm seeing that are going to drive more traffic to one listing, and that also going to see, okay, Amazon, can I make money from it? So they are going to up the prices.
So it's really saturation in the market, especially following, I mean, there were so many sellers that joined the marketplace during the pandemic, and those that were practicing, either black hat tactics or just weren't leveling up have fallen off. So now we're left with the sophisticated sellers. And so like you said, now there's so much competition that it's more of a pay to play than it was before, because everybody knows the rules of the game a little bit better, and inflation, like you said before. Rob, do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, no, I think you hit it on the nose. I was going to say pay to play definitely has been a big factor. We got a lot more sellers that came in. They start like Naomi said, like a lot more of them started realizing I have to do PPC. Like it's almost mandatory now. And, we get a lot of guests on that say that, PPC. So absolutely 100%. I could definitely agree with you on that shift.
Awesome. Yeah, but the main reason here though is like, while I like how you pointed out, Lisa, more sophistication. Because of sophistication, you also must know the game. Because if you don't know the game, it doesn't matter if you understand PPC. If you don't understand the latest in PPC or how the 1% is thinking, which I'm going to share, you're losing out. And just because of lack of knowledge.
Yeah. So what is the 1% thinking? Tell us.
So what is the 1% thinking, basically? What do the top 1% advertisers know? It's focus distribution. This is something that I also learned during the years. And basically being laser focused on the 20% of actions that will produce 80% of results. When it comes to this, it can be you're focusing on the top products that are actually selling rather than focusing on the 80% of products that you have in your catalog that are not selling most of the time, because of the attention shift to whatever problem is there, I should solve it, because this is how we are equipped ourselves, because it's a problem, I have to solve it. You will focus on something that is not the bloodline, basically, of the product, whatever it's bringing you revenue, but on something that is not working. Therefore, you're going to neglect. Focus really goes just this way, like horses have the small thing is like on top. Really, that's what you're going to see, So if you're focusing on the right things, that's also going to bring you the results. If you're focusing on the wrong things and you're doing the right actions, are going to bring you the results accordingly. Second thing is really strategy. So choosing the campaign type and targeting type that makes the most sales and helps you with organic ranking. And here as well, advertisers will advertise the top selling products instead of improving the ones that are not selling well. And they would craft also the strategies accordingly. Keep in mind that, again, here it's not only focus, but the strategy that you're bringing. Are you looking for organic ranking? Well, with organic ranking, you must know the sponsor products would perform better than sponsored brands or than sponsored display. So those are important things to know, because if you don't know the strategy behind it, you're just going to create a campaign. You would have the illusion or impression that you know what you're doing, when in fact you know just only a percentage of the whole truth. The third thing is really understanding the ad funnel, which is awareness, consideration, and conversion. This is, guys, where I personally, as I was starting the presentation, I had a lot of trouble with understanding why, because I knew the tactics, I knew how to create a campaign, I knew how to do this and that, but I didn't understand that most of my, or how does the ad funnel works, right? Most of the campaigns that I'm starting should be sponsored product campaigns because XYZ. Then the rest sponsored brands are helping with XYZ. Then sponsored display are helping with XYZ. So not understanding the ad funnel, how it works, it's going to create confusion because the basis, the fundamentals are not there. Next thing is control. More control you have, better your achievements, basically better results you would have. And here really an ad campaign without a strategy is like a car without a steering wheel. And while it sounds like silly, that it's like, clearly I do understand what it means, but whenever we would think of advertising, we're not thinking of the same, like we're not using the same, how do you call it, the same ways or the same filters. And this is something that I find is so funny. For advertising, it's the same concept, it's control. How much control do you have? That's where you would go. And more control, higher your chances to make your choices to achieve the goals that you want to have. And then bidding. I call this master multi-level bidding. I'm coining this term, hopefully. This is the first time that I'm calling it this way, but basically something that advertisers don't really, or newbie advertisers don't really understand is that just because you've seen a video and now you understand that high ACoS should be this much bid reduction, low ACoS should be this much bid increase, that's what they get. When it's actually about mastering a multi-level bidding strategy, which is really the ability to apply bid adjustment depending on the strategy of the campaign. And we're going back to the strategy, right? If the strategy is to have more, to make more sales cheaper, then the bidding is going to be accordingly. So just because you have a different strategy, that's going to also alter or affect your bidding. And that's something that is partially known only, right? Again, everything what I'm bringing here, these are like things that I learned during the past 4 years. It's just like I learned this part of the puzzle, then I learned that part of the puzzle, then I learned the other part of the puzzle. So while you know all these for like 5 types of things that you should be knowing, you have the chance to really be a very, very good advertiser, even if you're a beginner. Any questions on this topic, or can we go forward? Alrighty, so how to select keywords for your PPC campaigns. And here, on purpose, I would say I am very vague. But when it comes to keyword research, you can use Helium 10. So we love Helium 10, reverse async lookup for top 10 competitors. Or if your product has already been launched, you can do a reverse async for your own async. Next thing that you can do, we also love GETIDA. We're using it on a daily basis. You can do a reverse async lookup for your top 10 competitors, again, similar to Helium 10. And then brand analytics, here you can use brand analytics, but you would need brand registry for accessing it. You can use the search query performance report. Again, you would need brand registry to access this. And then the search term reports, this is going to be available for you once that you started already running ads. Here we would advise to download the search term reports for the past 30 days. Narrow down to a list of 5 to 10 keywords. That's the takeaway here. I'm not going to showcase you how to do this. I'm more than happy to jump on a call where I'm going to showcase you, but here really understanding how to think is more important rather than doing. This is not tactics, this is I teach you how to be a badass advertiser. I'm not teaching you how to be really good at XYZ skills, right? And then how to set up your first PPC campaign. Basically, the main 2 campaign types that you should be looking into is the auto campaign. Here you would have the one product. And here, if you have an FBA offering as well, I would list both of them within the same campaign. And it would go the structure as sponsored product, automatic targeting, one targeting group, and then add negatives if you already have negatives. And then the daily budget, just for to like how to categorize for this one, would be enough for at least 15 clicks, which means around a rough of 8%, 7 to 8% conversion rate. And then the CPC, if it's like $1, the daily budget would be $50 in this scenario. So for manual targeting, it's going to be, again, one product. If you have two listings, you would have both FBA and FBM offering within the same campaign. And then for sponsored product, we're doing a manual targeting, one ad group, 1 to 10 keywords here. And again, there's no clear strategy of why 1, 110, why 20 keywords, but the basic idea is for you to understand how much your upfront cost should be, or how to calculate what is your budget going to be. So in that aspect, I just created 1 to 10 keywords, so you will have a better idea of how to approximate for your daily budget. So when it comes to daily budgeting, if you would have the one keyword, the CPC is again $1, and you're targeting one keyword, the daily budget would be $15. If you have 10 keywords that you're going to target, then you would have at least, again, enough budget for 15 clicks for each keyword. In that scenario, it's going to be the $1 targeting 10 keywords, and then the daily budget should be $150. And this is why I just wanted to share with you guys, because I believe that you can be targeting hundreds, tons of keywords, but the idea here is for you to understand how to be strategic, to not spend less, but also not spend more than whatever you should be spending.
Right. Be as cost effective as possible and really target where your audience is coming from. If you can go back one more slide, Noemi, just to be sure we're covering all of the vocab here. Can you give us the definition of what negatives are?
Sure thing. Thank you so much for asking. Yeah, sure. So negatives basically can be a negative product or a negative keyword. So in this example would be, let's say you are selling a cat scratch. There you go, showcasing my cat mist because it's on the table. So let's say that you're selling a catnip mist. In this scenario, you would look up and create a campaign, and you will see that for cat scratch, I don't know, cat scratch bed, for example, you're showing up for it, and you clearly know that your product is not for that, and you also don't have budget to experiment with, should this work for me or not. So those would be that would be a negative keyword that you would be adding in exact form. When it comes to products, for example, again, let's say this product is like $7, but whatever products Amazon is sharing your Amazon is showing your keywords for example, there's $20, $25, so on, and you clearly don't have a competitive advantage. Why would you want to show up on that listing? So in that scenario, you would be using a negative target, like product targeting, because you don't want to show up where you surely know that you are not going to convert. Again, if you do have the budget to up and just like go crazy and like market domination, you can definitely do it. But most of the time, what I'm seeing is like, let's make it efficient and then we're growing it. Did that answer your question?
Yes, definitely. Rob, you unmuted. Do you have thoughts on that?
Yeah, no, 100%. So if you have a very limited budget, you're really targeting into those keywords. I did this a lot in Google back when I was selling. We actually were called Direct Fix. And for some reason, when people put Direct TV in, our name would show up. And I'm like, we're nothing like that. So I went into actually Google and did a negative keyword against Direct TV. So we'd stop showing up, which saved my budget, gave me more money to target the people that were actually looking for us. So yeah, 100%. That's awesome.
Exactly. The idea is to spend mindfully, not mindlessly. That's the real answer to your question. All right. Any more questions, or can we go forward?
Let's keep moving.
Let's keep moving. All right. So, and here, this is really small. I just realized it, but basically I just still wanted to showcase you, whoever is watching. Oh, awesome. Thank you. So basically this is the way how you would create the two campaign types that we were just talking about: sponsored product auto targeting and manual targeting. And basically these are the few choices that you would make. You're choosing the campaign type, then you're going to go to the ad groups. You can name your ad group, you cannot name it. Again, I'm here just to teach you whatever you would do. We personally are not. If you have a strategy behind why would you name an ad group, it must match with the overall strategy, but that's what we would be doing. And then creating, can you just like zoom on again? Because here this is so super small, but this is important. So what we would be doing, usually this ad type, the auto targeting ad type, came with all the 4 match types on. So right now you do have the option to choose which match types you want to show on: close, loose, substitutes, or complements. And the way how we would create the ads is for each one separately. So that way we have the most control over our budget. Then if we have negatives, we would add the negatives, and then we would select the what type of bidding strategy we want. Here, keep in mind that Amazon just made a few months back ago a small change that actually like was really, really bad. The way how you can see this is like look on top of that and see like where it's going to show up. It is bidding high, bidding up and low strategy is the fixed bids, and also bidding down only. So just ensuring that the bidding down only or the fixed is going to be on. Then you would create your campaign name, and also you would select the budget. And then similar here also for manual, I just created one for exact matches. But the idea here would be very similar to the auto campaign, is selecting the one product, then you would add the keyword in exact match. I would also highly suggest to have only one match type per one campaign. So if it's an exact match campaign, every keyword that is within the campaign should be exact match. If it's a broad, every keyword should be broad. If it's a phrase, every keyword should be phrase. And then here again, just pay attention, close attention to whenever you're going through this process, which is the one bidding type that it's going to show up first, because previously it was bidding down only, and now that Amazon switched it, we just didn't know what's going on with our bidding. So once that we figured out like, hey, this is not us, this is Amazon, just made a quick switch and no one noticed, for months. And it's like, oh my God. So just pay attention to that particular thing. Why? Is because of control. So more control you have, more can you spend efficiently, basically. And then some of the best practices when it comes to campaign optimization. First off, understanding the formula. So campaign optimization is equal gathering data, keeping what works, pause or add negatives, what doesn't work, and then create more of what works, and then repeat the same process. It should be boring. If Amazon PPC is exciting for you, no good. I'm telling you as like an avid, passionate Amazon PPC doer, if it's exciting for you, whatever should be exciting is like how you strategize your next campaign, not whatever is like, this is a campaign, it's like, let's do this and that. So must be boring. And then calculate how much budget you would require, and especially as I was showcasing the formula, if you have the 5 keywords, if you have the 10 keywords, it's really important. These are basics, but still like 99% of advertisers are not understanding it, and therefore what they are setting up themselves for the hope of gaining the 1 to 3 clicks, or for something that is like it cannot be repeated. And then increasing bid if no impression. This is like quite straightforward, but sometimes what can also happen, and this is a frequently asked question actually, whenever there are no impressions or very low impressions, also look at the search volume on a keyword level. Sometimes what can happen, because the keyword, it doesn't has a very high search volume, let's say it has 200 or 100, whatsoever, under 500, let's put it that way, then also the impressions are not going to be there even if the bid is going to be super high. And then once that data comes in, checking placement for Amazon where it's showing up your ads, because that way you can understand, okay, so this is the keyword that is working, that is how much I should bid for it, and this is where I'm showing up for the specific impression, for specific placements. Now, how to measure the success of your PPC campaign? And here, you're truly again on the amazing podcast. This is a really good podcast, by the way. But here I'm actually sharing a strategy, and I love to think in frameworks. I personally am just freaking out whenever I don't have a framework. So therefore, I created a framework for this. It's called the Evergreen Campaign Strategy. And this is going to showcase you how to really structure the campaign and what the strategy is going behind. So for whoever have not watched this episode or listened to it, please go to, because this is going to explain what I'm explaining afterwards. So the Evergreen Campaign Framework basically is, we have 5 main strategies that we can apply within our campaign. And then first one is the protect. Here we would show up first for the branded keywords, and does it cost relatively low? So that's going to be important. We are protecting, but we also don't want to spend a ton of money on protecting our own listing. Conquer, it's another strategy, and here the end goal would be do you make cheap sales from showing up on competitors' listings, or do you manage to take over brand loyalty for a competitor brand to your brand? So if that is the strategy with Conquer can be like 2. Either you're going to somehow piggyback on unoptimized listings, either you're going to take away market share from a brand that already is known. Ranking campaigns, here the strategy is going to be the way that you would measure it. Does your PPC sales increase your organic ranking? If it doesn't, it's not a ranking strategy. Dominate, do you keep or do you increase market share? So here, basically, this is going to be, we want to ensure that we're showing up for the particular keyword in order to take market share, and we're showing up on a specific placement. If you're keeping or increasing market share, that means that the campaign works. And then discover, do you find profitable keywords that make cheap sales? So discover campaigns is just about that. It's not something that is super strategically done in sense of I want to rank for XYZ keyword, rather than do I actually make cheap sales? What we want to make sure is that the cheapest sales possible, that's the ones that we're getting, but success is going to be really measured by aligning the desired outcome, right? Desired outcome with the campaign strategy. If there's no desired outcome, if there's no campaign strategy, really just like no wheel that you're keeping on, you're just like starting the campaign and hoping for the best. Hopefully you're praying as well, because sometimes that might help. So common mistakes to avoid in Amazon PPC. So the common mistakes are really budgeting. So a new campaign launch requires an updated overall budget. Think of it this way. If your overall budget for the one product is $3,000 per month, which means $100 per day, then if you're going to start a new campaign that is going to be, let's say, a one keyword campaign that is $15, you should be budgeting at least like way more than that, right? If you start a campaign with 10 keywords and the budget is 150, well, then the budget that you're going to have for that month is not anymore $3,000, but it's doubling to $6,000. So again, common mistakes that most newbie sellers are not, or most newbie advertisers are not thinking of that. Bids. Don't neglect that bid optimization impacts placement. And here again, this is why I like to teach a framework of thinking rather than do this, do that, is because whenever you're going to lower your bids, yes, you might be getting cheaper sales, but you have no control over placement unless you actually know whatever placement is working for you and you're going to modify that. However, the end goal is going to be, once that you're lowering bids, the conversion on a top search placement is not going to convert the same way as, like, let's say, rest of search or product pages. Next is focusing on the 80% after focusing on the 20%. Again, I'm not advocating that you should be neglecting the rest of the product. It's really, I'm advocating focus on the prioritize. So what is the highest priority, and then the next priority, and then the next priority. If you can do them all, you're the, like, I would take lessons, right? But the idea would be to really understand that you should be focusing the rest as well, but the main top focus, top priority is still whatever works. And then trading, love trading. But here, this is something, again, it's something very, very often, like I've seen this way more often than I should. Fundamentals are really most important and are really the ones that are going to push you forward rather than the latest tricks available online. Keep in mind that if you are only as good as the latest tricks you learned, you'll soon be obsolete, then the next new trick will be discovered. And this is coming from yours truly. So I've done all the mistakes. I've spent all the money. Why would you, like, if you want to do it on your own and spend and do all the stupid mistakes, you're more than welcome to. It's just like, if someone learned it, and if you can learn from someone who already like went through a lot of occasions but it did not work, trust me, it doesn't work, you know. So that would be the takeaway.
I hope that slogan is on the back of your Scale Wave t-shirts, and that's what you wear to events. Right? Like, you totally should, because that's so true. Because like we've mentioned a couple of times on today's recording alone, is there are stuff changes every single day with Amazon. Like you can't be a one-trick pony, and you can't just depend on the latest trick. Like, everything is going to change in an hour, tomorrow, next week. It's not going to stick, unfortunately.
Right. So this is why you should be paying attention to whatever is going on, because you cannot not pay attention. However, the idea is, if you don't understand the values, if you don't understand the mission, if you don't understand the core of why are you doing XYZ, you might be the best, I don't know, but for one day, like you're one day showman, which doesn't really, I mean, if that moves your needle, good for you. But if this is a business that you're working on, it's not good.
Yeah, exactly.
Some of the future trends that I also want the viewers or listeners look into is when it comes to PPC advertising, you should be expecting that Amazon will continue to bring out new ad products. So be always prepared to learn new features rolling out. We are not talking about tactics tips, but we're talking about everything that Amazon brings that is new that can work really well for you, right? 2 years ago, 3 years ago, sponsored brand video was new. No one was jumping on it. We jumped on it. It was 10% ACOS. Now everyone is jumping on it. Now it's like 110% ACOS, So understanding how to be the first at the market and try and test it, but not put all your best or your eggs in the basket on that particular bet, that's important. Something else to expect is really Amazon is self-serving. I love Amazon, but I do know Amazon is a business and it must be self-serving. So if you are not regularly checking for changes, Amazon will ensure to profit from your lack of attention, unfortunately. About ethics and so on, because that's a different podcast. But the idea would be here, ensure again that you're going to check daily and you're not going to trust that the system is working for you. Giving you just the example of a simple placement of dynamic down only was replaced to dynamic up and down, screwed up the whole strategy. And we didn't know why, because we did everything by the book. Everything, it was like checklist. So everything was done right. So not being aware of the fact that things can be changed and sometimes can be changed for the worst. It's a very naive way of thinking. And then you'll have to become better at outsmarting your competitors, right? If you're only as good as the latest tricks you learned, you'll soon be obsolete when the next new trick will be discovered. And that's going to end my presentation, guys. Thank you so much for having me on. I also think I have the list. Let me say, I have one more screen, one more slide.
Sure.
It's not showing up.
Absolutely.
It's not showing up. But basically, it was just for sharing the way how people can contact us.
There we go.
There you go.
Okay. So, and that's supposed to be really nice. And when you're like working on a nice presentation, it's like, so ready for increasing growth with us. Contact us. That's supposed to be moving nicely. But thank you so much for having me on.
Thank you for coming on. And we've, throughout my time hosting this show, hosting Prime Talk and my show at my previous organization, I've learned so much about the different areas of an Amazon business. But if this presentation, if this recording existed when I first joined the Amazon world and was trying to learn things, I would be light years ahead of where I was when I started in understanding PPC. Like this is now my golden child recording for anybody who has questions about PPC. I'm like, here's the beginner guide. Call Noemi.
Yep. It broke it down perfectly. It absolutely explained everything and broke it down perfectly. Very good.
Awesome.
Awesome. Naomi, why don't you tell everybody just a little bit about ScaleWave and what you kind of services you offer? I mean, obviously PPC, but tell us a little bit more.
Sure thing. Yeah. So the main reason actually why I also created the agency and also for this presentation, it was exactly what you were just saying, Lisa. When I started, I was not fortunate enough to have thousands of dollars to start. So I learned everything on my own. And what I noticed is that while looking for all the strategies, there was like scattered. Everything was scattered and it was not in one place. So really what we're doing is we're not only servicing, like we are an agency, yes, we are servicing brands between 7 to 6 figures annual revenue. But what else we're doing, we're also educating. I do want to genuinely teach also other advertisers who might be not having enough budget maybe to learn, or who, whatever, they want to take on hands-on approach of guiding their own brands and like growing their own brands. So we are both an educational and also service company when it comes to this. And on the educational side, I really do want to like push as much content as these ones, similar to these ones out there, because I do believe that at the end goal, if you're paying me for service, it's just because I'm doing it and all my mistakes. If you want to do it, you can definitely do it, but at least know how to prepare the way for me when I'm coming in, basically.
Yeah, the service providers that I find the best service providers out there are the ones that lead with education, just like you do with the ScaleWave team. So just to reiterate for everybody, if you are interested in getting in touch with Noemi, you can email her and her team at contact@scalewave.io, or you can visit their website at scalewave.io, or she's made a much prettier slide than what I have here. Scan the QR code to get in touch and connect with her on LinkedIn. But Noemi, thank you so much for being here today. This was, I mean, we can't gush enough about how wonderful this was, but we really appreciate your time and attention and the thoroughness of this mini course, we'll call it.
Yeah, I absolutely appreciate your time. Yeah, and as I was saying, as many people as can, if they can see, just take your time, because you're really not going to regret it. Absolutely, you're just going to see everything what I learned for the past 4+ years, and like, why not? You know, if you have the chance, why not?
Exactly.
Excellent.
Well, thank you again. And thank you so much for everyone who tuned in today. If you liked what you saw, please be sure to give us a thumbs up, share your thoughts with us in the comments, subscribe to the show, and we will see you all on the next one.
Thanks for joining us this week on the Sellernomics podcast. Special thanks to our sponsor, GETIDA. Did you know that Amazon probably owes you money for FBA reimbursements? Get $400 in free FBA reimbursements at getida.com/Sellernomics. Be sure to join us again next week for more great tips on how to grow your business. And thanks again for listening.